All right, welcome everybody. We're back with another episode, and today I'm very excited. We have Tips with Toni Marinucci with us. Thank you so much, Toni, for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So I wanted to just tell everybody I'm very excited because Toni is a registered dietitian, but she's so much more than that. She's got some great programs online. I've seen like your website. I was checking it out. You have a lot of things going on, but how did you get into doing what you do?
Okay. Long story, but I'll give you the shortened version. I think like many people who go into a profession, they struggled with something at one point, and that's really what encouraged them to get there. So for me, I grew up overweight and insecure, and I tied my weight to my worth and carried that with me all the way into adulthood. And so I was constantly on this pursuit of losing weight because I felt like if I lost the weight, I then somehow would be more worthy of love, marriage, acceptance, happiness, all of the things. And unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way that going to the extremes, extreme restriction, excessive exercise, unfortunately, it doesn't actually help anything. It doesn't heal anything. And if anything, it just keeps you stuck in that cycle. And so I struggled with my body image, my relationship with food for many, many years. And I, of course, wanted to fix myself, to be honest. So I went to school to study nutrition to figure out how to eat, how to lose the weight, how to feel better in my body. And I wish I could say I had it figured out, overnight. And because I became registered dietitian, it like fixed all the things, but it didn't. I'm human. I had to, learn things. And, I became obsessed with food a little bit as I started learning more about it. And I think I got worse before I got better. But the moral of the story, the hero's journey, if you will, now is that I finally, after many years, I finally found balance in my eating habits. I healed my relationship with food. I healed my relationship with my body. And I stopped trying to change it in order to be happy. Instead, I learned to accept it and then also treat it with kindness and care, and starting to nourish it because our bodies do need nourishment. And I started to look at it as kind of working for me rather than working against me. And that's where so many shifts happened for me. And that's where now I want to empower other women to break up with this idea of extreme dieting and really just learn how to eat balanced and consistently to feel good in their bodies. And so that they have the energy and ability to do things beyond, just worrying about what to eat, when to eat, and how much to eat.
I was just looking at some statistics the other day and I was shocked that just the weight loss industry by itself is around a $200 billion a year industry. And that the average person tries 126 different diets in their lifetime. And I was like, I didn't realize there was 126 diets, but I think they say like, all right, well, I'm just going to give up this food. Or I think that's what they counted when they did that research. And I was like, holy moly, I didn't realize how food obsessed we have all become. I know I've had my own struggles, but I didn't realize as a nation that it was really that much of a problem. So what things have you seen with clients or just like with people in general when it comes to relationship with food and trying to
Yeah. So I think the main mindset where a lot of people struggle is that all or nothing mentality. And so and I think we see it in things outside of nutrition, right? It's even about, within success, it's learning, we make sacrifices and we never see our family and friends because maybe we need to study and win, get an A, and that's cool in the short term. But if you're trying, your life and your body is with you for the long term. So you really need to kind of reframe and to understand that one thing that I like to teach a lot is to replace the word sacrifice with compromise, because it is true that if you do want some changes, if you do want to feel better and have more energy, then you are going to need to drink more water and eat more fruits and veggies and, maybe have more lean proteins and all the things. But you need to also be able to have that be sustainable. Right. And so one of the things I say in my TED talk is, if your diet requires you to eat out of Tupperware container and never leave your house, well, then that's not going to last more than 6 months. Like, So if you really are doing this for more of a lifestyle change and more of the long term rather than a temporary solution, well, then you'll have no choice but to break free from the all or nothing mindset, because that's the mindset, unfortunately, that's holding you back. So I really encourage you to focus on a more balanced approach, and be honest with yourself of focus. One of the things I also teach is focus on how food makes you feel rather than how it's going to make you look. And when you do that, you will find the balance. And I also believe that, I think you, believe it or not, will actually start to like the way you look more when you do that. But we have to kind of start with first, how do we want to feel? And then how you look will become second.
That's the thing. Like I was telling you, I've struggled myself with my weight. I was a heavy kid, then I got really thin, and then I went to medical school. And people have heard me tell the story a lot, but in medical school, this was in the like late 90s. And this was my first time that I was like, I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to do a diet and become healthy. And I started doing the American Heart Association diet because that was really big at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was low fat, low cholesterol. So I thought I was being super healthy, and I was eating bagels like nonstop. And lo and behold, I put on 75 pounds in medical school. And I was like, what? Unfortunately, that was now my entrance into, well, trying this diet and trying that diet. And one of the things I've noticed is that so many of the diets out there are so restrictive, and that they seem to work for a while and then all of a sudden they stop working.
Right. Right. And the reality is they don't work, because if they worked, then they would continue to work after. Right. So one of the things I like to say is anything you do temporarily will only produce temporary results. So anytime you're making a change and a shift, of course, it's going to be uncomfortable in the beginning, but after a while, you really need to ask yourself, like, can I see myself continuing to do this? And if you think you can, then that's probably going to last for you in the long run. But you're right. A lot of the diets out there are very restrictive. A lot of them are kind of like, they're set up to this like one size fits all approach, but we're all so unique and different. And I think that's where a lot of people, forget that no diet is going to be perfect. like none of them out there is going to be the one, right? And you really need to take the time to kind of, it's okay to, I don't believe that, I'm not like 100% anti-diet per se. I just believe that maybe if you're going to try a diet, understand that it is temporary, and understand that it's to help you to figure out what works for you and what doesn't. It's like dating, right? Dating, you go on, you're not going to, most people don't find, their person the first date that they go on, right? They got to go through the bad dates to figure out, what is it that they like? What is it that they don't want and don't like. And so that's the same kind of approach that I encourage people to do with dieting, is to understand that, there's not a one size fits all approach out there. There's nothing perfect about it. But what we want to do is kind of go through and really listen to your body, figure out what does work for you, what doesn't, and eventually find what we call your diet. So you mentioned before the term diet, you think it's like, a lot of people think I'm going to be healthy, or I'm going to be restrictive, or, whatever it is. And we really need to just change the way that we even think about the word diet. Really, your diet is just the foods that you eat, your lifestyle, right? The things that you do or don't do. And that's really should be reflective of who you are and only you. And that's what I hope people can start to kind of shift, is getting away from like the all or nothing, one size fits all approaches, and to just crafting and creating your diet.
I love how you brought that, because I was going to ask you about the word diet, because, it does have sometimes this negative connotation. And, I was like, how else do we talk about the foods we eat without calling it diet?
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing I'll also add to that is, you mentioned like all these diets that are out there, they really only focus on one component, which is usually like physical, right? They rarely ever address like your mental health, your well-being, self-care, sleep, movement, all the other things that are also very important in your lifestyle, right? They usually only have like the one aspect which they believe is healthy, which I know from many years a lot of those are very restrictive and are actually unhealthy because they're usually imbalanced. But even so, even if they were, they often aren't addressing your mental health. And I believe that health is really your physical and your mental health combined. And I think that's where a lot of those diets, that's what they're lacking.
Oh, this is great, Toni. I can't wait to find out more when we come back from the commercial break.
80% of women will develop a pelvic health condition at some point in their lives. There is relief. There is hope. The Pelvic Floor Store, your resource for personal health.
And we're back with Tips with Toni Marinucci. So, Toni, all your experience and things that you've seen with clients and your own journey. And I also just want to put a plug in for you, because I said that we were at the break that I love the cover of your book, which you guys can find on Amazon. What's the name of the book again?
Once Upon a Diet.
I love that. So what are the things that you have found, and what advice can you give to people that are just kind of going through this like diet? Yeah. It's kind of like this never ending merry-go-round.
Yeah. Oh God. Well, so I was going to give you the tips from my book, but I do believe that, or even my TEDx talk, those are really great. I'm going to still give you tips today, but I feel like I want to give you something different than what you can find online when you watch my TEDx talk, which is also called Once Upon a Diet, or read my book, which is a really quick read. And you can also download the audio version. So in that, I give you 3 questions to ask yourself to break the diet cycle, or what I like to call the stepsister cycle, hence Once Upon a Diet. Because of Cinderella's stepsisters, by the way, because they tried to jam their feet into something that clearly wasn't a good fit for them. So that's the whole analogy.
I love it.
So lots of great tips on there. But I think the thing that I think I can help your listeners today, because I know we don't have a ton of time, is like kind of what I was saying before about this concept of a lot of people focus solely on their physical health and they neglect their mental health. And what I find is they'll usually go to the extremes and usually undereat or overtrain, or, cut out a whole food group or whatever it is. And then it's very difficult to sustain. So if you can think of a Venn diagram, right? We have your physical hunger on one side, and then you have your psychological hunger on the other side. So most people are going around underfueling, imbalance, not getting enough nutrients. And then emotionally, they're also giving and pouring and not taking care of themselves, not setting boundaries. And so when those two things overlap, that middle part of that Venn diagram is what I like to call the danger zone. And I find that 90% of the women that I speak to are operating in that danger zone, and then are frustrated why they can't be consistent when it comes to taking care of their health and achieving their health goals or their fitness goals or their sustainable weight loss goals or whatever it is. And so first thing you need to do is focus on just eating one simple thing. And this, so some people might be like really challenging, is just eating 3 balanced meals a day. Because if we can get you can consistently just stabilize your energy, stabilize your blood sugars, make sure each meal contains a complex carbohydrate, a lean protein, a healthy fat, and then a fruit or a vegetable, then it's going to be pretty clear that by the end of the day, when you're feeling this need to eat to soothe through food, that it's not physical hunger, it is emotional hunger. But where a lot of people is like, you're not taking care of your emotional needs and you're not taking care of your physical needs. Now it's really difficult for me as a practitioner to decide, okay, where is it that you need the most help? So I feel like if you can build that solid foundation of first just practicing eating 3 balanced meals a day, creating it the way you want to create it, include the complex carb that you like, include the healthy fat that you like, include the protein that you like, include the fruit or vegetable that you like, and slowly work on that, that's going to be a really great foundation. And then from there, you can add on what we like to call habit stacking, which I'm sure is a concept that your listeners might be familiar with, which is, okay, you got your 3 balanced meals. Now let's focus on, hydrating, getting in enough water, getting in enough sleep, like really focusing on your habits, but not trying to do it all overnight, all at once, but slowly but surely continue to build and build and build. And then you're going to create this space for you to then address your mental health and to, start to take care of your overall well-being. And that's where you get out of the danger zone and you can get out of that fight or flight and really just like live a more happy, healthy, fulfilling, abundant life.
It's so funny because it's so basic, yet we always complicate things. Yes. And I will tell you, I'm a perfect example, having done every single diet known to man. And recently I just got so desperate because I was like, I turned 50 this past year and I'm like, I want to lose weight. Like, this is the year I'm going to get in shape and have more energy and blah, blah, blah. I tried for 6 months doing everything I could think of. And finally started working with a friend of mine who like looked at what I was doing and they're like, you're not eating enough. So we're going to have you eat more and exercise less. And I was like, there's no way. And I
Yes.
think a lot of us are still in this mindset that it's this calories in, calories out. And it's, I always tell patients, and I should listen to myself, that like 270 calories of a Twinkie is not equal into 207 calories of broccoli. Like
Right.
that's going to have a completely different reaction on the body. But I found that once I started eating healthy foods and eating more of it, the weight started coming off naturally. And I'm like, what?
Mm-hmm. Well, also what you're expressing, what you just shared right now is like the under eating, over exercise mentality. It
Yes.
puts your body in a state of stress. And you mentioned also being in residency, where you're at your highest weight. So not only were you eating an imbalance of nutrients, but you're also probably very stressed out, and stress causes inflammation, which then complicates all of our other processes in the body. And people forget that stress is actually like the root of many disease states. So it's like this idea of I'm trying to get healthier, but really, your weight actually is not correlated to your health as much as people think it is. Your habits are the quality of your life, the quality of your food, the quality of your sleep, the quality of stress management techniques. These are the things that are actually helping you be healthier. And so it's so funny, but it's not funny, but it's true. And it's sad that it's true that a lot of people think like the harder I work, the easier things are going to get. It's like, no, the harder you work, the harder your things are going to get. And so let's work smarter instead of harder. And that way you can be consistent and stop putting crazy amounts of stress on the body. And your body is fully capable of working for you. That's literally how it's designed. So it's learning how to trust yourself again and getting, away from the diet. It's because diets make us detach from our hunger. They make us detach from our body's natural ability to heal. And it's really just learning to lean into what your body is naturally capable and able to do for you.
And we're entering a time of the year now where diets and dieting are crazy. We have the holidays where people tend to go a little crazy. And then all of a sudden, New Year's, where people are like, let's restrict. What is your advice around this time of the year?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you asked that, because I think you're so right. People just check out and they decide, you know what, I'll worry about it in January. And I want to really help you reframe that. So number one, the people who are going to have a healthy and successful 2023 are making the shifts now. Right? We know that things don't just happen overnight. So it's important that you utilize this time of year and look at these things that are going to happen, like the excess temptation, that more parties and all of the things. Rather than looking at them as obstacles, I want you to look at them as opportunities for you to practice balance in your eating habits, saying no thank you to things, and then also saying, you know what, actually, that sounds amazing. I would love to enjoy that. And allowing yourself to have something like the pumpkin pie on Thanksgiving without feeling guilt and shame around it. And really getting honest with yourself about, like I said, we know that there's nothing wrong with having something that contains sugar. Sugar has been demonized by society. It's when we have too much of it or not enough of something else, that's when we start to feel disaligned, unwell, bloated, uncomfortable. So it's not, I say this in my talks as well. A lot of times it's like, it's not the cookie that's the issue. It's eating the entire box of cookies after ignoring your hunger cues all day, right? It's about saying like, oh, I'm going to save my calories for later. And then you're starving. And then it's so hard for you to like make a balanced decision or choice, because physiologically your body's like, feed me, right? And so when it comes to the holiday season, I really want you to allow yourself to have the traditional foods, the indulgent foods, and then also have, fruits and vegetables and lean proteins, and hydrate with water and move your body and get sleep and manage your stress, all the things. It doesn't change just because it's the holiday season. If anything, I think you need to focus more on that stress management during the holiday season, because we know it can get a little stressful.
Oh, this has been great, Toni. I really appreciate it. Where can people find out more information about you?
My biggest platform, I would say, that I'm most consistent on is Instagram. So at tips_with_Toni with an I. Feel free to go to my website, tipswithtoni.com/coaching, if you're interested in working with a dietitian on my team. And Amazon is where you can get the book Once Upon a Diet.
Thank you so much. It's been so wonderful talking with you.
Thank you for having me.